I never planned to speak about this, but the silence has grown heavier than the memory itself. My name isn't important, only that I am still here to tell what happened the night he appeared at the edge of my campsite, claiming to be half human, half alien. I remember the forest humming with a strange stillness, as if the air knew something I didn't. When he stepped into the firelight, his face seemed familiar and foreign at the same time. I felt an unexpected pull in my chest, a recognition I couldn't explain. I told myself it was just the darkness distorting everything. But deep down, I sensed that my life had already begun to shift. He didn't speak at first. He only watched me with patient, unblinking eyes, as though waiting for me to remember something I'd forgotten. That night marked the beginning of what I now understand was a slow unraveling of my reality. He finally approached me, moving as if the ground adjusted to him rather than the other way around. I remember the crackle of the fire seeming to fade, replaced by a faint resonance in my ears, like a low frequency only he and I could hear. He told me he had been searching for someone who could understand him, someone who felt the same dissonance in the world. I didn't know what he meant, but I felt it too. A strange misalignment, as though reality didn't quite fit. He sat across from me, his hands clasped lightly as if holding something invisible. In that moment, I noticed the air around him shimmered, not with heat, but with subtle distortions like ripples over water. It didn't frighten me, it fascinated me in a quiet, unnerving way. Something inside me whispered that this encounter wasn't new, just forgotten. He spoke gently, almost reluctantly, about the tests doctors had run on him. Blood work that revealed anomalies no one could explain. He said his cells responded to stimuli that shouldn't affect human biology at all. Listening to him, I felt a prickle of electricity along my arms, as if my body was reacting to the truth beneath his words. He confessed that he didn't know which side of him was fading, the human part or the alien one. I wanted to ask if he expected me to help him, but something held my voice in my throat. Instead, I watched him draw patterns in the dirt with a trembling hand, symbols that looked like constellations rearranged. My breath hitched when one of the shapes pulsed faintly with blue light, so soft I almost convinced myself it was a trick of the fire. As he traced the final line of the glowing pattern, I felt an almost gravitational pull toward it. The air thickened, carrying a metallic scent that reminded me of old electronics warming up. He told me he felt watched, not by people, but by something above us, something that recognized him the way an owner recognizes a misplaced object. His voice trembled as he said he sensed they would come for him soon. I pressed him to explain who they were, but he only glanced skyward, eyes reflecting starlight in a way that didn't seem natural. The forest felt too quiet, as if the world were holding its breath with him. I remember clutching my jacket tightly, not from cold, but from the sense that something vast and unseen was drawing near. He asked me if I had ever felt disconnected from myself, as if my memories were slightly misaligned. The question hit me harder than it should have. I recalled brief moments in my life when I felt watched, guided, or nudged toward places without knowing why. He said those moments were signals, faint echoes meant for certain people like me. My pulse quickened, and I felt a soft vibration beneath my feet, as though the earth itself responded to our conversation. He leaned closer, eyes glowing faintly, and said he could sense the same anomaly in me. Fear and fascination warred inside my chest. Before I could respond, a faint hum spread across the clearing, so subtle it might have been imagined, yet the fire flickered as if startled. He told me he had once tried to live a normal life, hiding the parts of him that reacted strangely to sound, temperature, or emotion. But the more he suppressed it, the more unstable his presence became. Lights flickered around him, electronic devices malfunctioned, and people began to avoid him without understanding why. As he described this, I noticed the flames bending slightly toward him, drawn by an unseen current. He seemed ashamed, speaking in a whisper barely carried by the still air. I realized then that he wasn't boasting about being different. He was confessing. I felt an unexpected empathy, as though I were listening to someone reveal a truth I had once known myself, but buried deep within. The hum around us deepened, resonating in my bones. The deeper he spoke, the more the forest shifted around us. Shadows lengthened unnaturally, sliding across the ground as if directed by something above the treetops. He said the anomalies in his blood were only symptoms of something larger, patterns encoded long before his birth. His voice thickened with emotion as he admitted he didn't know if he even belonged on Earth. I felt a tightness forming in my chest, an almost painful recognition I couldn't explain. A pulse of white light flickered between the trees, brief but unmistakably artificial. He closed his eyes as if bracing for impact. I wanted to reach out, but my hand froze mid-air, suspended between curiosity and dread. Something was approaching us, and he knew exactly what it was. The light expanded silently, forming a dim, oval shape suspended above the forest floor. It wasn't bright enough to dazzle, yet impossible to ignore. He told me not to move, but his voice carried a calmness that frightened me more than panic ever could. The hum grew louder, vibrating through the ground, up my spine, into my teeth. I watched as his features softened, his outline blurring slightly, as though he existed in two places at once. He whispered that they hadn't come to harm him. They had come because he could no longer remain between worlds. His gaze met mine with a mixture of apology and relief. Then the light pulsed, bathing the clearing in a soft, shimmering glow, that made everything feel weightless. He stepped toward the light, and with each movement, the distortions around him intensified, warping the shapes of trees and shifting the color of the air. I wanted to call out to him, to ask what he had seen in me that made him think we shared something, but my voice felt swallowed by the light itself. He said he hoped I would trust my own senses, even when the world insisted they were wrong. As he approached the center of the glow, his body began to fade, not disintegrating, but growing transparent, like vapor merging with moonlight. He turned one last time, offering me a faint, knowing nod. Then he stepped forward, and the light folded around him like a curtain closing. The clearing fell dark again, but the silence no longer felt natural. I stayed frozen, staring at the space where he vanished, waiting for something to return, an echo, a sign, anything. Instead, only the faint smell of warm ozone lingered. I noticed the glowing pattern he had drawn on the ground had dimmed, but not disappeared. It pulsed weakly, as if breathing. When I touched it, a shiver ran through me, the same resonance I felt when he first arrived. I can't explain why, but ever since that night, I've sensed a quiet frequency within myself, a gentle hum beneath my heartbeat. Sometimes, when the world grows too quiet, I feel watched, not with fear, but with recognition. And part of me wonders if he ever truly left, or if I'm now meant to follow.